Tax chiefs at the big accountancy firms have defended themselves against claims that they are behind avoidance schemes that damage the UK's interests. MPs on the Public Accounts Committee accuse them of making corporate taxable income vanish into thin air. So should big businesses be forced to pay more, or would we all pay less if we had the chance? Well, let's speak to the economist and wealth manager, Jonathan Davis. Jonathan, good morning.
Morning, Nick.
So do you know of these accountants that are making tax that should be paid from big corporate bodies vanish into thin air? Is this something that is well known in the industry?
Of course it is. And an accountant is paid, amongst other things, to help a company or indeed an individual to save tax. If you either have an option to pay, say, £10 tax or £15 tax, what are you going to do? You're going to pay £10 tax. I'm not suggesting that the accountants are whiter than white, and the way they supported the banks and all the fraud is something that the Treasury Select Committee should be looking into. But in respect of the tax, all they're doing is their job. And, Margaret Hodge, the chairperson of that committee, says it's disgusting these multinationals are not paying enough tax and all the rest of it. Well, do you know what? And what they should do is not look at the firms whose job is to save costs and maximise profits for shareholders, or indeed complain about the accountants. Instead, they should look at the rules. And by the way, when Hodge was part of the government, the last lot, they had 13 years to sort out the rules and all the loopholes. Do you know what they actually did? They made the loopholes as wide as the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, but the reason they were doing that was because they were getting rid of a lot of red tape, which accountants are exploiting. But if you start tightening things up at a time that we want to kickstart this economy again, big businesses are going to turn around and say, well, I'm not going to invest in the UK. So surely, even though it might frustrate some, we have to accept that the rich are going to get a wee bit richer, but they're the ones that are creating the jobs at the moment in the private sector, the jobs that we so desperately need.
Yeah, I disagree, I have to say, with most of that. I think any serious analysis of the tax system for the last 200 years will show that it has always favoured the rich and powerful, stretching back to the Corn Laws in the 19th century.
Yeah, very true.
And to suggest that the other point you made, that if we actually get people or companies to pay more tax, then that will be bad for the economy. I don't think anything could be further from the truth. And in any case, if a company can see a net profit out of doing something, even if it means they're paying more tax, they will still do that.
Hang on a second. Look at Ireland as a really good example. When it lowered its corporate tax rate, then a lot of businesses said, right, we're going to move to Ireland. If we say we're going to ask big companies to pay more tax, and hey, hallelujah, I agree with you. I don't want to see the rich getting richer and us at the other end of the chain getting poorer. That said, if they're going to then walk out of this country and take a lot of jobs with them, surely that's something that we cannot afford at this time.
Yeah, no, that's the other point I was going to make. Actually, it's the multinationals who are the organisations who have taken jobs out of the country, taken it across to, for example, Southeast Asia, China, to make all their goods to manufacture and bring them back here. It's the little companies, it's the small and medium-sized enterprises, the one-man band, the 10-man band, the 20-man band. These are actually the engines of growth in the UK, indeed in the West generally. If you've got 1 million little companies and they each take on one employee, you've got 1 million less on the dole queue. It's the big companies who are doing the big job losses. Jaguar Land Rover just took on 800 people, but Honda, on the other side, let go of 800 people, and it's the big companies, the big retailers who are going out of business, and they're letting go of thousands at one time.
You're quite right.
Big banks are being hit left, right and centre now. I'm not actually displeased to say, and they are letting go of literally tens of thousands. It's not the big guys who are going to get us out of the malaise. It's the little guys.
You are quite right. I can't argue with you there. Can you do me a favour, Jonathan? I think you're fascinating, and I want to give you more time on the radio this morning. I'm going to do some news, and then can I come back to you? Is that okay?
Of course.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A wee bit more from Jonathan Davis. And he's got a point, hasn't he? When he talks about these big businesses paying a fairer rate of tax. Would you agree?